Hello and welcome to a edition of Pittsburgh Sports Memories Podcast, only current events edition. And the biggest thing that just happened was the NFL draft, and we'll go over some Penguins and Pirates stuff. There was a lot that happened this last current event. Sometimes we're kind of scraping to find out, but with the NFL draft and all the fallout from that, we got a lot to go. So we'll jump right into it. So, the Steelers draft, Tim. Who they've picked, they had obviously the 21st pick in the first round, and they picked a gentleman named Derek Harmon, a defensive tackle for Oregon. He was not named Sanders. So round two, they did not have a pick. I was correct. I do believe they
Yes.
did not have a pick. So I think they traded that away. I forget who they
It
traded.
was DK Metcalf.
Yeah, that's it. Round three, they drafted Caleb Johnson, a running back from Iowa, who, according to, I think it was Pro Football Focus, and I don't put a lot of stock in them, but I don't think they could screw this up. They said that he is the fastest running back to come out of the draft in 8 years. Then they went with Jack Sawyer, who I've heard of. I know he made a couple big plays in the Michigan game because I only got to watch the Ohio State-Michigan game, really. And I remember him making some interceptions and plays and stuff. So he's kind of a big play, kind of like a TJ Watt-ish kind of guy.
He's also the guy that ripped out the Michigan flag
Yes, he did that
when they
too.
tried to plant their flag. Yeah.
Yeah. A gentleman I have no idea about, Yaya Black. So defensive tackle. They needed defensive tackles. They have not been able to stop the run very effectively. So hopefully one of those two guys works out. And then in the sixth round, and that's kind of the interesting pick, is Yaya Black, but he's at pick 164, which I'll tell you why that's important later. 185 in round 6 was Will Howard, a quarterback from Ohio State. He just looks like an NFL quarterback. He's like 6'3", 200 and some pounds. He's big as an ox. I don't know anything about his arm. I know Ohio State struggled mightily against Michigan, but then they did win the national championship. So, and he must have done something. That I know Mel Kiper, who I just was reading an article, was projecting him as a backup in the NFL. So take that as you will. Carson Bruner, linebacker from Washington, the 7th, and Dante Kent. We're never going to hear of either of these two guys. Not to be rude to them. If they make the roster, it'll be impressive. If they ever see any significant playing time, it'll be a miracle.
Do you know who Carson Bruner is? The son of?
Mark Bruner, probably.
Yep.
Yeah. So, that's a legacy pick. It's the 7th round. You're not I'm trying to think of people that came even, who was the gentleman from the Vikings? I think John Randall. Didn't he go undrafted? He's the only person ever. And I think Harrison is one of the lowest. Him and James Harrison are one of the lowest people to ever make it to the Hall of Fame. Like as far as draft picks.
Donnie Shell was undrafted.
And that was back in the 12 round days.
Right.
Huh?
Right. Yeah, so yeah, you never know, but yeah,
it's more
the earlier picks.
Yeah, like if it's not in the first 1 through 4, normally not much is shaken. So the interesting part was the defensive tackle from Oregon. He sounds like a good guy, and you said he was hurt. You said he had hurt his shoulder, correct, Tim?
Yeah, but they said he might need surgery at some point. But the Omar Khan addressed that. He said that they wouldn't have drafted him if all of their medical people wouldn't have felt completely comfortable with whatever this injury is. So that doesn't seem like a big deal. And then when you watch his tape, I mean, he is just a big, strong dude. He's got a motor. They showed these clips of him like moving people with one arm so that he could like bat down passes with his other arm. Now, granted, college defenses are not NFL defenses, but it wasn't like he was playing in some kind of Big Sky conference or something. He was playing against pretty elite teams.
Yeah. And then obviously the running back from Iowa, they run kind of a pro system. So, and they needed some speed at running back, obviously. Like Jalen Warren's kind of like a little bowling ball guy, so hopefully this guy gives him some speed.
He,
It's just I wish they would have got Scatabo. I didn't see where Scatabo did end up going
he
or what round.
he went not long after. I think he went like early fourth to the Giants. I like
Yeah.
this kid from Iowa though. He's got speed and he's got a lot of break tackle kind of ability.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't think it's a bad pick. I just wish they could have got Scatabo too. I
And
think, yeah.
Iowa had zero. I mean, I'm talking zero passing game.
So,
He was the only running back in the draft who had he literally 50%, more than 50% of the plays that he was in for last year had 8 guys in the box.
oh, okay.
And
So,
he still had a stellar year. So I
yeah.
mean, he's one of those guys really good like yards after the first hit,
Mhm.
which I feel like that's kind of what Najee was supposed to be, and he never quite was.
He was mediocre at his problem was I always thought he was a little slow.
Hmm.
He wasn't as fast as you would have liked him, and he wasn't as power like he had power runs at time, but he wasn't James Conner or Jerome Bettis, you know?
Right,
So, and he
right.
wasn't fast enough to be Willie Parker. He was just kind of like in between. He might end up having a 10-year career just because he's so in between, and he's a good person and a team player, and he's not going to cause trouble. So, as long as he can stay away from the injury bug, I can see Harris lasting a while. But this guy, to go back to this guy, I hope he turns out because they really need a running back. So
Yes.
obviously, I don't think they drafted any offensive linemen, so they're obviously happy with their offensive line. So, Yaya Black, do you know anything about him, Tim? I
Just
don't.
just a big run stopper kind of, I mean, like you said, they just need depth on the defensive line.
Yeah,
So if, like you said, if one of these guys works out, if both of them work out, that'd be really awesome. But he's just a big dude.
yeah.
Again, you never know till they any of these guys, I guess, but you never know.
And now the quarterback situation, I think they are set. They are thinking Aaron Rodgers is going to sign with them. I am just really convinced that they are thinking that. And I think if they were going to draft um, Sanders, they were going to pick him in the fifth round. And I think that's why Cleveland picked him because I think Cleveland wants him as trade bait or one of the quarterbacks as trade bait. So, which is kind of weird because they just traded for Kenny Pickett, which is odd. And
And they
I
drafted a
don't,
quarterback in the third round. So I'm not sure
yeah,
what the point of that was, but
I think
I
they like
never.
somebody. It sounds like trade. It sounds like they're just stockpiling, and they're gonna cut Deshaun Watson. I can't imagine they just don't finally bite the bullet and take the hit and cut Deshaun Watson. How much money can they owe him? I mean, at some point you just have to get it over with and open up a roster spot, take the cap hit because it's only a 1 year cap hit, right?
Well, they could also keep him on injured reserve all year. That'd be the other option because I
But
think
wouldn't
he's
that
still
still
hurt.
be a would that still be a cap hit?
It's going to be a cap hit either way. It's dead money. Remember, his
Yeah,
contract was fully guaranteed. They can't.
yeah.
There's literally nothing they can do
What a
whether he plays
horrible
for them or
they've
not.
set their organization back so many years with that
Yeah.
contract.
Well,
It's
that's good. Good. I mean,
eh,
sorry, good. Like I don't necessarily wish ill on the Browns, but they took a guy who wasn't a very good person and who was accused of doing a ton of really bad things. And then they literally gave him the biggest guaranteed contract in the history of the world. I mean, good. I'm glad it blew up in their
it's
faces.
it totally has, yeah. And I think so that's why I think the Steelers are pretty sure that Aaron Rodgers is going to sign with them, which is I thought Mike Tomlin had learned that he likes to stay away from the drama, but apparently not, maybe, or at least the drama like of Deontay Johnson and Antonio Brown.
Yeah,
Uh,
we talked about that. I think the last month where I don't understand the direction there. I am happy with. I'd be perfectly happy with Rudolph starting, and I really do love the Will Howard pick, Steve. I don't know if you were going to come back to him, but
I
I want
don't know much. I know. I mean, he looks like an NFL quarterback. I mean, he pisses off Mel Kiper. And just to comment on Mel Kiper, I think this is like the what do they call the lost money fallacy, where like you put so much money into a hole or into a business, you just keep going because you think it's going to pay off at some point. And I think that's Mel Kiper at this point. He's didn't he have him projected as a top 5 draft pick?
So,
And
you're talking about Sanders.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he did. Yeah, I mean,
And so now he looks like he's lost credibility. Not that I never put much stock in what Mel Kiper said anyway. I always thought he was for entertainment purposes only. He's kind of like the old slot machine that doesn't pay out. Like he's just for entertainment purposes only. And he that famous time he got into it with who was that on
Bill
air?
Tobin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's why you don't work for any of the organizations. And people have said that online, like, if Mel Kiper's so great, why aren't teams hiring him and using his draft analysis instead of him going on TV and doing it? That's been an argument for, I don't know, 15, 20 years. I think maybe some of it is like, because he really criticized the Steelers for taking Will Howard. He really thought, he's like, well, think they should have taken a quarterback. And obviously he thinks they should have taken Sanders. But I think that's kind of, I'm trying to justify myself more than, he really cares if the Steelers takes him or not.
Yeah, Sanders. What I liked about Sanders was he had a lot of really good fundamentals, really super accurate. Well, like well coached. As much as we probably don't like his dad. He is very well coached, but man, he just came with all that baggage. And Will Howard, he's kind of the total opposite. Just really likable, really good guy, leader. Almost like a Tim Tebow. And I hate to make that comparison because just in terms of personality only, not necessarily playing ability, kind of a Tim Tebow type. Mm-hmm. And that's a guy, Will Howard, he only got better during the season. Like you said, that Michigan game was a disaster. And then he goes and he beats all those teams, including Notre Dame, who had like a pro secondary.
I think the championship game. They beat Oregon again, didn't they?
And Penn State.
Yeah.
And
Penn State had a pretty good defense last year, if I remember correctly.
They did. And in the history of college football, which is 150 years.
Yeah.
No one's ever done what Will Howard did. No one's ever gone through a tournament to win the championship. That's literally the first and only quarterback who's ever done that. And he did it. And that was huge pressure, massive games, huge spotlight, really good.
Well, I mean, somebody had to do it this year, Tim. This is the first year they've had it.
Yeah. And it was him. But that's what I'm saying. Like it was him. So for a 6th-round draft pick, I'll take that. I'll take that any day of the week. Like I think and okay, go into the season with Rudolph or Rodgers or both, that's fine. But this is a great guy that you could potentially get a look at. Obviously no pressure.
If they don't get Rodgers, I don't think they're that bad either because they'll just sign like one of those, did Pitt graduate any quarterbacks this year? They'll sign like somebody from Robert Morris or, you know what I mean? They'll just sign a camp arm because that, it's either going to be they get Aaron Rodgers or they get a camp arm, I think is what's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there's any other veterans out there. I still think if they
Tannehill would be nice to get Tannehill.
Honestly, that's the guy I had in mind. If they didn't get Rodgers, I think Tannehill would be a perfect backup because he's not playing at the moment and he supposedly wanted back in the game last year. So somebody like that. And then Will Howard can learn. And then you can see what you got for next year. It gives you this year is not the Steelers year. Like we're not winning the Super Bowl this year. We're just not. I mean, I'd love for you to be able to play me a tape next year and show everybody that I was wrong about that. But I mean, come on, they're just not that good. And so see what you have with guys like him, build up the rest of your team in the meantime. And then this time next year, okay, is Will Howard even a remote possibility? Or do we need to draft somebody? Or do we need to draft somebody high? And now we have 2 guys, right? I mean, look at what the Patriots did. I mean, you actually have to give the Patriots a little bit of credit because they drafted who was that guy a couple years ago that flamed out? I can't remember. Mac Jones. Somebody.
Yeah, Mac Jones. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they drafted Apr-May. Then they drafted that kid in like the late round last year that they just traded to Dallas. Like they kind of like, okay, let's get, a couple of quarterbacks, a couple of young quarterbacks. And if one of them is good, then great. And I feel like that's kind of what the Steelers are headed towards. So I'm fine with the strategy. I think that they're starting to finally dig out of the hole that they were in those last couple of Ben Roethlisberger years.
Just on a national note, like, do you think Sanders, like, I know Dion was trying to play the what am I sorry, the Archie Manning card where like, oh, my son's not going here. And then he ends up going to the Browns. Wasn't Cleveland one of the places he didn't want him to go? I thought.
There was an old tweet that got dug up yesterday. Now, to be fair, it was from like 2018, so this is quite a while ago. But it's a tweet from Dion saying like, I would never want my kid to play for the Browns or something like that. And but I mean, beggars can't be choosers when you're a fifth round draft pick.
Yeah, so I wonder if he talked himself out of other teams that might have been looking at him, and then like I wonder if he wasn't, trying to angle for the Giants, and whoops, here he is.
Obviously, something went seriously wrong there. I mean, I can't
I've
imagine.
never seen a guy predicted in the top 5 drop all the way to the 5th round. I've seen
Yeah,
him drop to like Aaron Rodgers, like end of the
right,
first round, beginning
right.
of the second round, but to go in the 5th round, there's some sort of poison in the water, or like even Dan Marino, like only dropped to the bottom of the first round, right? Yeah, so
Right, right. Like the only guy I could even remotely compare it to would be like Malik Willis, because
yeah,
there were some people thought maybe the Steelers would, but even that the Steelers might, some people were projecting the Steelers to take him late in the first, not top five, and then he only
but
dropped
I
to the
think
third.
yeah, and I think Sanders is better than Willis. I mean,
I do too. So again, it had to have been like something with his personality or with his dad or
yeah.
something's wrong there, and I'm kind of glad. Like I did kind of want him
I
because
think
I think
I
he's
think
actually
Cleveland.
pretty good.
I just still think Cleveland's going to use him as trade bait, and they knew maybe they knew the Steelers were going to pick him in that 5th round because the Steelers kind of ended up with the defensive tackle, but I wonder if they weren't going to pick him in the 5th round.
I don't know. I don't
We'll never know, but
trying to understand the mindset of the Cleveland Browns is
yeah.
yeah. I mean, you need a PhD for that. It's like trying to understand the mindset of the Pittsburgh. Actually, no, I was going to say it's like the Pirates, but the Pirates I understand their mindset very well.
Yeah.
The Browns
Yeah.
I don't get it at all. I don't understand what they're trying to do.
Well, that puts a bow on the 2025 draft. So in 2029, we'll come back and see how much all these guys are Hall of Famers, just like the
That's right.
1974 draft. Um, Switching to hockey, the Penguinis. Why are they had a losing season? Is the first time I think since 2005, 2006, and the immortal tenure of Ziggy Palffy and Eddie Olczyk and all them guys. John LeClaire. Yeah, that's the first time the Penguins have had a losing season. They haven't made the playoffs in what, 3 years, Tim? Is it 3 years now?
Right.
Yeah. So why are fans okay with this? Like they're not even making the playoffs. It's not making the playoffs and losing the first round. It's very much like the Steelers with Mike Tomlin. Well, I think people are getting sick of that song and dance too, but
Well, people are much more upset about the Steelers losing in the first round of the playoffs every year than they are about the Penguins not making the playoffs at all. In fact, people are even more upset about the Pirates this year
yeah.
being as bad as they are than they are about the Penguins. So you're asking why? I can throw out a couple theories.
Yeah, I mean, do you think it's because they keep Crosby? They've paid off like with championships, whereas the Steelers haven't had a championship in what, 10 years now? Yeah,
Almost 20.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
almost
almost
20.
20. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah,
boy, that's hard to believe. Yeah, so we're like at the same point we were in the '90s, like where they hadn't won since 1980.
yep.
Wow, I didn't realize it had been that long.
Yes. So so yeah, I think that's one of the reasons. I think one of the reasons is the Penguins won back-to-back cups in as recently as 2017, which is, now that's 8 years ago.
Years, yeah.
So it's almost a decade, but it's still semi-fresh. And that era of like Crosby, Malkin, Letang, that paid off. It won 3 championships, and I think everybody knows. Okay, that's not going to last forever. It's going to end at some point. Uh, I think the second reason is because I think people are starting to understand. Okay, they have to rebuild, and they're going to be patient to kind of wait for them to do that. And then I think the third reason is just because it's hockey. I think it's always been a different mindset with the Penguins. I don't know why, but it hasn't been the Steelers. It's like, my goodness, if you don't win the Super Bowl, then
Yeah.
everybody needs to be fired. Everybody needs to be
Yeah.
traded. Quarterback needs to be cut. The Penguins, there's a little bit of that, especially like with the goaltender over the
Well,
years.
that's hockey. I think that's hockey in general.
But
Like everybody.
it's not the same level of I don't know what it is.
It's
It's
very like the way fans act in Toronto for the Maple Leafs is very much how the Steeler fans act.
yeah, yeah.
And I don't know, the Penguins fans don't act like that. I don't know, just maybe like you said, because they're not the biggest team, the biggest fan base support. They have their fans, but they're not as big as the Steelers. So
And it feels like as Penguin fans, we're so grateful for like the moments we have.
yeah,
Whereas
because you
like
almost lost the team. Yeah.
yeah, whereas Steeler fans, it's like we're beyond spoiled. And I say we because I feel like I'm in that mix too. Like I'm not I was probably more disgruntled again, like everybody else, with the last Steelers season, and it was 10 times more successful than this recent Penguin
Yeah.
season.
Well, it just seems like with the Steelers, it's more of the same. Although I thought with Russ, they might have found lightning in the bottle, like again, but it just didn't last. It's like they
No,
got to find a quarterback that can be good for more than 4 weeks. Rudolph was the same way at the end of the season. He was good for like 4 weeks, and then I was like, nope.
yes.
So getting to last but not least, the Pirates. You know what? This isn't even a baseball thing at this point. Like if you go to a restaurant, we've all been to restaurants, right? And they treat you bad, and they just treat you really bad. Like it takes forever to get service, the food sucks, and the prices are super expensive. You just stop going. That's basic business 101. Or you just get treated like such crap, even though you can get a lot of things right. Oh, the restaurant's in a great location. It's a beautiful building. The prices are a little high, but it's kind of worth it. But oh my goodness, the service is slow and the people are rude, and it's just not worth the hassle. The Pirates are turning into that kind of business. They really are. They are turning into, I'm trying to think of like, this business that just takes people for granted. And, businesses that take people for granted lose money. And with the streaming, they're losing all those customers that they used to just automatically get. And also Comcast, remember, moved them to a different tier of service. So now you have to pay more just to even get Fox Sports or whatever it is, Pittsburgh Sportsnet. So people are like, cutting that out, and that's a major source of their revenue, along with the people just coming to the game. So what this my point is, everybody's heard now about the Bucko bricks. There were bricks that were subscribed. A lot of people, I think, I know my wife, her aunt and uncle had a couple bricks, and some of these were like people like their parents that had passed away, and this was like a very commemorative thing. And so instead of doing the right thing and asking people, hey, send in where your commemorative brick is, just tell us where it is, we'll save it for you, we'll send it to you, we have to replace it, they're just going bad, whatever. I get it. And they said they've done it 2 or 3 times, they've already replaced it. Well, this time they just replaced it, threw them away in the garbage. Didn't tell anybody, didn't do anything, and only responded after they got caught doing it. Not only could they get caught, when it went to the recycle place, a guy offered to buy them, and they said, no, we can't do that. Their logic was they couldn't tell whose brick is whose brick, and they were afraid somebody would come up and claim a brick unsolicited. I mean, I don't see how that would create a problem. I mean, I guess, I could take your brick, Tim, and hold it hostage until you pay me, money. But this is how you lose customers permanently. And the only way to fix this now is you better win a playoff game, and they're not going to this year. So I don't know, outside of the only thing that's going to change the fans are at the games chanting "sell the team" now. People are taking out billboards. We've talked about this. The national media is getting on Bob Nutting very badly. So maybe it's time for Bob to if not sell the team, get like some sort of like maybe become a minority partner or something. Like it's time for him to leave because I don't see this as salvageable outside of somebody hit them winning the World Series. I just and that might not even I don't know. I guess that would cover everything up, but they're obviously not going to win the World Series this year. They're miles away from it, and it's just bad baseball. I mean, I've watched the game here or there. Like I've watched O'Neill cruise out in center field, drop easy fly balls, doesn't know what base to throw to. They make base running errors. I mean, like Shelton just mails it in, makes curious decisions. There's just that's just the baseball stuff. Never mind all the business stuff. You know how much it costs to go to a Pirates game for two people? It's got to be like $80 to $100. I mean, and for what? To get any, it's bad business all the way around. And now they're saying maybe they'll build a commemorative wall. It's just, and I'm sure they'll take your money to do it too. And so what a horrible business. If people don't go to the games, I don't blame them. But maybe he'll move. Maybe at this point, maybe it is better he moves the team because this is a joke, and we can get another team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just.
I think he should.
I feel like I'm sitting like in church, just listening to you preach, just like throwing my hands up, going amen, because
maybe if he let him Cleveland Browns us. Art Modell, go to your new team. We'll keep the history. You take the team, and whenever the MLB decides to expand, because I think the MLB knows this is a good market. You put a halfway competitive, even a decently competitive team, they will sell out and you'll get TV ratings. And he just refuses to do that. So either sell the team, move the team, and we get up the expansion team. Mark Cuban save us. Remember when Lemieux wanted to buy the team and he's like, "Oh, the team's not for sale. The team's not for sale." Boy, I wish the team would have been for sale.
Yeah, at this point. So yeah, like I said, everything you're saying, I couldn't agree more with. And the closest comparison I can think of is the Washington Commanders. I keep always forgetting what they're called these days. Well,
this is how they treat people. Yeah, remember he was charging people to come to practice and like all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm sorry.
And that was Daniel Snyder. He was so stubborn and I'm just going to keep doing things the way I do things and keep running the team into the ground and keep making all my, that's because it's a good comparison because that team, just like the Pirates, has an amazingly rich history with really, really loyal fans. Mm-hmm. And then he came in and for 20 plus years, he submarined everything. And then they made him sell. And now look at them. Now they were in the NFC Championship game last year. They were one game away from the Super Bowl, and everybody's on fire and everybody loves it. And there's a market there, and you just had to get him out of there. And I'm glad all this is happening because I feel like at least it might force him to think about selling. Like he never had any motivation before, but now people are legit angry. Like this Bucko Brick thing, this Clemente Wall thing, which
I mean that's kind of
that was overblown. That was overblown,
but not the brick thing. The brick thing, people paid money for.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
You owe them. They were supposed to be. There was no. Oh, it's only going to be for a couple of years. No, this was till the end of time, and either you give the people their money back, or you replace the bricks. So
yeah, it was just such a botched. Everything was botched, and now people are angry because. Now, this is the first time, probably since Barry Bonds, that the Pirates have had a once-in-a-generation player. Like the Penguins got Crosby, the Steelers had Roethlisberger, and now the Pirates have Skeens. That's the first time in a generation, literally a generation, where we've had a guy like this, and everybody is fully aware that it's going to mean nothing. He's going to be on the team for 4 years and then go play for the Dodgers or Yankees. And we're not going to do anything. We're going to totally miss the window because our ownership is so putrid. So at some point, keep up the pressure because I hope everybody keeps it up.
Tim, and if in 4 years that happens, I think that might be the end of baseball in Pittsburgh. And
Yeah,
I know it sounds
yeah.
like hyperbole,
No, you're right.
but if not, if they don't now next year, like you said, there's a negotiation for the CBA. If there's no salary cap next year, they're just going to keep on keeping on like they do. And Skeens leaves. So what? This is year 2, right?
Right.
So this is 20. So he would leave in what, 2027, 2028, somewhere in there.
I think it's more like 28 or 29. But you're right.
Yeah.
Whenever that happens,
That'll be the end of baseball in
You're
Pittsburgh.
right.
Why would you ever go to a game ever again?
Yeah.
Why would
What's the point? I mean, and I think people were kind of like, well, it's a nice day, it's a nice night out, the ballpark, beautiful ballpark, and all
Yeah.
that stuff. That's wearing off. And now people are just, yeah, they're angry. Like you said, people are showing up to can't sell the team, and people are flying banners over and billboard. Like they're even Nutting has to comment about it. He's actually commented about this multiple times already this
Well,
season.
just the old PR. Well, we're just as frustrated as the fans.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying to land the winner here. We really are trying. And it's a lie. It's a lie. You don't sign anybody. Like they were saying I forget, they said it was a pitcher that in 2018 was the last free agent they signed to a multi-year deal. 2018, that's 7 years ago. So, like, they have no intention of fielding a competitive team. They don't want to field a competitive team. Now, maybe he figures next year is the be-all, end-all, and if he doesn't get his salary cap, which I think he is for, maybe he figures he'll sell the team then. He'll just be out. He'll just leave. I don't know.
I just
if he gets the salary cap, he can be competitive and can sign people easier. I don't know. We'll see.
What's the point of staying in this at this point? Like it's just stubbornness, because he could sell the team. He would have whatever price he gets for that franchise will be enough to provide generational wealth for his great grandkids. Like there's no reason to stay in this. Like Daniel Snyder, again, going back to him, what did he get, $7 billion or something for that team? No, it wasn't like he was hurting. So just why would you want to keep being the most unpopular person in an entire metro region year after year and have people angry at you and chanting things at you? Like what?
Well, yeah, there's literally video of him like walking into the game and people just start yelling at him. Like he's not gonna, if he's smart, he doesn't come back to Pittsburgh, or he comes back and just takes the secret owner's route in. Like I'm sure there's some elevator somewhere where he can come in and he won't have to face the fans.
But why? Why go through all that? And like he's trying, like I know like he did make a huge mea culpa for the Bucko Brick thing, but that doesn't matter. And then like the bobblehead thing, they had a thing at the stadium, a Paul Skeens bobblehead, and they promised everybody would get one, even the people that weren't in line. Like they're just.
Oh, I didn't even hear about that. Oh, geez.
But they're just trying so hard to just do everything that they can to win over everybody. Well, just stop. Just sell the team. And like you said, Steve, you get anybody else in here. That's the only way this ends well. Is you get somebody in here that wants to run the team,
or they win a World Series, or
that's not going to happen until they get a new owner.
Well, yeah, that's probably true. Yeah,
like I said, it's like Washington.
Yeah,
well, Washington had a couple of years there. They had like RG3. They had
they had decent teams. Yeah,
and they never went anywhere because all that junk is going to always hold you back. And then sure enough, like I said,
well, because when you get good enough, let's say they get good enough to be competitive, it's just like the 2015 or 14, they'll never sign that last person they need, or even when they try, they won't follow it up the next year to have sustained success. And
yeah, we could be like the Commanders if we get the right ownership in here. I really do believe that. I know baseball's totally tilted, and I hope that they do fix that with the next CBA. But even if they didn't, we could, like you said, Steve, it doesn't even have to be like we're winning the World Series. Just field a moderately competitive team. Be in the race. There's so many playoff teams now. Just be in the race until like August. They can't even do that. It's so bad. And people are just, you're right. When Skeens leaves, you're right. I don't see I don't see how you can possibly even remotely even support the team after that, what's left for you at that point?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, on that happy note, thanks for tuning in, and let's go Bucks. Well, at least the Steelers maybe will be interesting this year, and we'll still talk about them, I guess. I don't know why, but what a horrible state of affairs for the Pirates. Maybe, come September when we're doing this, we'll be like, wow, what a turnaround from April. They're almost in the wild card or something. So you never know. Detroit pulled a rabbit out of its hat last year. So
I do know, Steve. Unfortunately, I do know.
It all ends in tears for Tim. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time on our current events. Leave a comment on Facebook. Tim kind of is in charge of that. Let us know, should we have drafted Sanders? How bad the Pirates suck, or if you think the Pirates are great. I would love to see. If you think the Pirates are doing the right thing and are on the right track, please comment on our Facebook page. Anywhere. Post it 10 times. Please, I want to see it, because I bet you, Tim, we don't get one comment to the positive about the Pirates. Even neutral, I bet we don't. Well, thanks for tuning in, and check us out in those places, and we'll catch you next time.